Greetings from Pavlo Ardanov, Fulbright Research Scholar at the Agricultural Sustainability Institute, University of California, Davis, and co-founder of the NGO Permaculture in Ukraine. Welcome to the series of video lectures on designing crop polyculture, which is supported by the International Visegrad Fund. The topic of this lecture is cover crops. Under description to this video, you will find the links to different sections of this video lecture, as well as to slides where you can study spreadsheets to compare performance of different cover crop species. Cover crops or subsidiary crops are any plants which are grown primarily for their ecological function, that do not necessarily provide any commercial harvest. Cover crops are usually grown for nutrient cycling, maintaining soil fertility and preventing nutrient leaching, breaking down disease cycles and suppressing pests, diseases, and weeds, providing food and habitat for pollinators and other beneficial organisms, soil decompaction, improving water retention, and minimizing water losses. Sometimes they can also provide an additional commercial benefit such as edible seeds, animal fodder, or nectar for honeybees. There is no ideal cover crop, and species and mixtures should be designed according to farm goals, management, needs of the cash crop of interest, soil and climate conditions. Another option is to build rotation around cover crop which demonstrates the best performance on your plot. There are several niches to integrate cover crops depending on your cropping schedule and climate. Winter fallow niche might be available at least 6 weeks before a hard frost, but might be extended by planting winter hardy cereals such as rye, or by overseeding tough, low-growing or with slow initial growth to reduce competition, and shade-tolerant cover crop into primary crop before full canopy closure or after canopy reopening of the main crop with subsequent irrigation or before forecasted rain. Another option could be to use a reseeding winter annual, especially varieties with a high hard seed percentage that re-establish in fall. Vigorous vegetables such as winter squash and sweet corn are suitable for interseeding cover crops. Certain crops, such as rose clover and subterranean clover, medix, and some veg species, produce hard seeds with coat impermeable to water, and therefore they can establish a seed bank in the soil and germinate during several years. Species with hard seeds or early maturing cover crops should also be used in the situation when raw meadows cannot be irrigated. Summer fallow niche is available between early planted and late planted cash crops, and is suitable for quick-growing, drought-tolerant summer annuals, which can also be overseeded into the early crop. Small grain rotation niche is available for growing winter annual cover crops before spring grain. Cover crops can be frost seeded by broadcasted into winter grain, or it can be planted after winter grain harvest. Full year improved fallow is a niche for rebuilding soil fertility. It is suitable for planting tap-rooted perennial or biennials which require least maintenance, or by planting perennial forages. Sequential cover cropping is planting grass-legume mixture in fall for weed suppression and for nitrogen build-up. Cover crop is terminated during following spring and at the flowering stage. It is followed by summer cover crop which produces high biomass. Next is living mulch. It provides year-round erosion protection, weed control, nutrient cycling, and nitrogen fixation. After cover crop termination, the main crop is strip-tilled into the cover crop or into residues. Cover crop stands that are sufficiently dense soon after planting are more likely to suppress weeds, scavenge nutrients, and reduce erosion. Such performance depends on cover crop seeding methods. As you can see from this photo, stands are more uniform after drilling. And on the second place is seed broadcast plus rototiller. Grasses with slowly decomposing residues should be terminated before they reach full vegetative growth. Legumes should be terminated during early to mid bloom when their biomass and nitrogen content is the highest. Cover crops can suppress pests and disease development, primarily via production of repellent and toxic compounds, serving as non-host plant and by reducing pathogen viability, by trapping pathogen as more attractive target comparing to the main crop, and by providing food, pollen and alternative pest, and habitat to pest predators. At the same time, cover crops may serve as alternative hosts to pests, and the composing residues of green manure can encourage pathogen growth. Brassicaceae crop can aid in managing top 3 rated economically important nematode pests. In addition, they can suppress a number of soil-borne pathogens, pests, and weeds. Brassicaceae crops with relatively high glucosinolate content, this is compound responsible for suppressive effect, include broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, cannula and rapeseeds, turnip, radish, and a variety of mustards such as Indian mustard and white mustard. Recommendations for efficient biofumigations are listed on this slide, and spreadsheets with nematode host status and nematocidal effects of different brassica crops are included in the supplementary materials. Cover crop management to increase pollination include planting strips on successive planting dates, planting a mix of plants that bloom in succession and which meet habitat needs of desired beneficials, and mowing the cover crops in alternate strips. The objective of using cover crops to combat weeds, in particular annuals, is to replace weed flora that cannot be controlled with plant cover that can be controlled. Cover crops can be used as intercrops or as living or dead mulch and can reduce herbicide cost up to 50% in conservation tillage. Generally, cover crops suppress weeds by two mechanisms that act together: allelopathy and competition for resources. Later is manifested as fast germination, rapid growth and establishment, high biomass production and its persistence, and depletion of soil nutrients. Crops with large seeds usually germinate and grow quicker. Cover crops, especially when combined with no-till, also provide shelter and support higher diversity of granivorous caribids, which can consume weed seeds. Different strategies can be combined and used in succession. For example, rye mulch reduces weeds in maize, and maize reduces weeds biomass in broccoli. Mixtures of cover crops from different families can provide more efficient weed suppression. An example is a combination of sunflower, cannula, and sorghum, or combination of vetch with radish. It should be noted that allelochemicals can inhibit both weeds and primary crops. For example, oat has negative effect on tomato yield, while rye and soybean is compatible intercrop for efficient weed suppression. By mobilizing and accumulating previously recalcitrant nutrients and by preventing nutrient leaching, cover crops, particularly those that produce high biomass yield, allow better nutrient cycling. Most cover crops, including legumes, are somewhat efficient at preventing nitrate leaching, and thus cover cropping has in general positive effect on water quality, even if planted late in the fall. Crucifers, due to their fast growth, deep root and higher maximum nitrate uptake comparing to monocots, are particularly efficient in preventing nitrate leaching at deep soil layers. For example, winter rape reduced subsoil nitrate content earlier and stronger than winter barley or ryegrass. However, in case of late autumn planting and short growing season, cereals are superior to crucifers due to faster initial rooting and initial growth, and also because the nitrogen uptake is less sensitive to low temperatures than in crucifers. Among crucifers, fava bean and especially hairy vetch have higher nitrogen uptake than other family members. Winter rye can capture up to 90% of nitrates and is efficient in nutrient capture even when present at low rate in mixture. Therefore, it should be always added to mixtures that are planted late in autumn. Mixed cover crops with complementary traits and functions often outperform monocultures and also have better multifunctionality. For example, phosphorus mobilization by lupin can be combined with biofumigation by fodder rape, and mycorrhizal cover crop component can additionally enrich this combination. Winter-killed oat can be combined with winter-hardy rye to enable mycorrhizal nutrient transfer from dying oat root out to rye. Cover crops may potentially reduce evaporation by providing live or dead mulch and to increase soil infiltration and soil water holding capacity by improving soil aggregation and porosity, which are also linked to reduction of soil compaction, as well as by increasing organic matter content, which is particularly important for sandy soils, as well as by reducing surface crusting on clay soils. Cover crops with deeper rooting system, such as forage radish, can act as natural tillage and allow the subsequent cash crop to develop a more extensive rooting system and consequently better drought tolerance. Species from cereal or buckwheat families generally reside in higher evapotranspiration rates than legumes. There are few drought-tolerant species, for example hyacinth bean and native summer dormant grasses. I will briefly review a couple of tools that can be used for designing cover crops. Cover Crop Database of the University of California Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Program is currently providing information on 44 cover crops. For each species, it provides a detailed description from the academic publication and communication with agriculture experts on environmental requirements, planting and termination details under different management systems, and review of both positive effects and disadvantages for cover crops. Cover Crop Decision Tool, developed by the Midwest Cover Crop Council, helps to select aerially seeded or interseeded cover crops based on their effect on the main commodity crop. Selection is also based on soil drainage and flooding risks, defining growing periods, and is based on the number of agroecological services and their ranking. The tool was designed for Midwest or North-Central US states, which have a humid continental climate and significant annual temperature variation, and it provides information on seeding window based on local climate conditions. It also displays crop ranking for selected agroecological goals. In video description below, you will find the links to slides as well as references and highlights to publications cited in this video lecture. Finally, I invite growers of tree, nut and fruit crops, all growers with experience in crop diversifications, researchers and agriculture extension specialists to participate in one of the surveys listed on the slides. The links are also provided in description to this video. With your help, we will be able to develop free software to help farmers to design their crop polycultures. We also invite you to subscribe to our Facebook page Polycultures and Permaculture, where we share useful information on crop polycultures from the academic publication and directly from growers. And we invite you to share your practical experience on this page. On our website, you will find recorded conference presentations, proceedings and resolution of the Research and Practice Conference, Polycultures and Permaculture, which was organized in January-February 2020. Thank you very much for your attention.